Hey there, welcome back to Total Geek Baltimore Presents. I'm Baltimore, and today I am bringing you Wolverine and the X-Men, the one-season-long animated series that was in 2009. We got 26 episodes. We could have had more, but the feud between Marvel and Fox was too much. So we all kind of lost out on that. But we did get some great episodes, really inventive storytelling, and some exciting things, pairings, groupings, um, the adaptation of it, which is, I thought, really, really fascinating and interesting. You know, when they announced this, I was a little sour because everything was Wolverine. Everything was Wolverine. And I get it. He sells. People like him. But he's not the only X-Man. And sometimes you just kind of have to swallow it. If you can get something that is this good, you kind of take the Wolverine pill, basically, and, let it go. But this was a 2009 series that came out. It was really, really fascinating because it felt like not necessarily a spiritual successor, but it felt like an actual successor to X-Men Evolution, which after, seeing seeing that series, I was looking for more. The animated style was very similar to Evolution at the very end, elevated a little bit. But they say it's not a part of that. It's separate, different, whole thing altogether, which, okay, fine. This one begins with the Xavier, a celebration at the Xavier Mansion. Everyone is there, and a big explosion happens, and Xavier and Jean disappear, and no one knows what the heck happens. And Cyclops is distraught, and they disband the X-Men, and everyone goes their own separate ways. And it's a sad thing because the heart and soul of the X-Men, Xavier and Jean, are gone. Why continue? So then we flash forward a year later, and we have to find out what the X-Men are doing, where they are, what's going on. Bobby's gone back, Iceman has gone back to live with his parents in the suburbs. Everyone's kind of gone on their own way. Storm is back in Africa. And then Beast and Wolverine realize, they stopped the MRD, which is Mutant Research Division, and they are taking mutants and kidnapping them and taking them away. So Beast and Wolverine stopped that and released the mutant prisoners, which is a great, get to see all the characters that you're like, oh, that's that, and that's that person. It was like Wolfsbane and Boom Boom and, a few other characters. So they decide they're going to have to get the game back together. They have to find Xavier, find Jean, figure out what's going on. So they go to Africa to get Storm. They bring her back. Angel bankrolls the entire thing, and they come back to the mansion and rebuild it. Shadowcat's there, Nightcrawler, Iceman, they're all together, and Forge is brought in to do all the machinery work and invention stuff. And then Emma Frost shows up. And, at this point in the comic series, Cyclops and Emma are an item. And I was kind of fearing that this would happen too. But she shows up and she says that she will help them find Xavier. And she just needs to use Cerebro. And of course, they don't really trust her because she's the White Queen of the Hellfire Club. Why would you trust her? But they do, because that's what X-Men do. And she ends up tracking down Xavier to Genosha. And at this point, Magneto has taken over the country and has made Genosha a mutant paradise. And Xavier is there in his care. So the X-Men, fly off to Genosha and demand to get Xavier back. There's some fighting that goes on and all of that, of course. And then Magneto gives Xavier to the X-Men and says, take him, be careful, but leave. And they do. And then they come back, and then you find out the twist, which is great. Xavier's body is there, but his mind has been transported 20 years into the future, into his future body. And you're like, what? Oh, this is interesting. And so we find out that there's a parallel narrative happening 20 years in the future. So Xavier sometimes goes back to his body and talks to Wolverine and the X-Men to tell them, something that's about to happen, like some sort of thing that they can do to prevent the future that he's living in. So it's really fascinating to kind of see that happen. Later on we find out that the reason for the explosion was actually Jean as Phoenix. She just kind of got overwhelmed and went, crazy. And she's found comatose in a coma in a hospital. Of course, no one has seen her since then. But it was a really good pairing of the X-Men. That dynamic of the team was really, really fun. Rogue didn't go back to the X-Men. She went with the Brotherhood, which is kind of interesting to see that she made that choice. But the Brotherhood consists of Quicksilver, Avalanche, Blob, Toad, Domino, Rogue. And that's kind of fascinating to kind of see them, because in the future, with Xavier, Domino is part of the X-Men there. So in the future X-Men, you have Xavier, you have Bishop, which is cool. You have Hellion, Berserker, Domino, Kamal, Marrow, which is really kind of cool. X-23, an old Wolverine and Polaris, and Vanisher. And then you have a Sentinel who has been reprogrammed called Rover, which is a nod to, one of the comic series, which had a reprogrammed Sentinel who protected mutants instead. But it was really cool. I love seeing all the characters being, jumbled up and put together, and it was really fun to see the future X-Men fight together, and that kind of story was great. Cyclops is depressed. He's not the Cyclops you know. Cyclops in the comic was very assured, very Boy Scout, very by the books. In this, he's fallen apart without Jean, and he doesn't lead the X-Men, which is why it's kind of appropriately called Wolverine and the X-Men. So we see him going through all of that, and he battles Mr. Sinister and rejoins the X-Men, and it's this really, really fascinating journey for him. Of course, he and Emma become closer, and she kind of straddles the line of hero and villain, as she always does. So that's kind of really fascinating. You have Genosha, which was really fascinating to see that in an animated version thriving, so to speak. You have Magneto, Scarlet Witch, Mystique, Polaris, Scanner, Pyro, Blink, Juggernaut, even Mercury, Seneca, Dust, Mellencamp. There were so many spot 'em characters in there. It was really, really cool. You have the transformation, of course, from Angel to Archangel, which you kind of always need to have, which is fun to see. You have appearances with Colossus. You have Boom Boom, Dazzler, Psylocke, Gambit, Thunderbird, Firestar, even Darwin, Magma. So it was a lot of fun to see all these characters that you've watched and read and grown up with in a new animated version with a new style and with a new kind of breath to them. So that's what I really appreciated and loved about the series. I thought it was really great to see all that. And one thing I thought was actually pretty interesting is there was a Hulk versus movie that came out, and it was Hulk versus Wolverine, and then I think Hulk versus Thor. This is right around the time when the Hulk movie came out. And interestingly enough, they did a sequel in Wolverine and the X-Men. So you had Wolverine versus Hulk. And that was pretty cool tie-in and homage to, okay, so this universe is kind of, they were trying to set it up, and then they didn't. But it was really kind of cool. And you get these really great moments, and I really loved the animation. I loved the fighting style. I loved the development of the characters. I thought they were very, very real, and it didn't rely on me knowing about them, which I thought was very key. Because a lot of times when you see adaptations of things, you are expected to love a character or a pairing or whatever because it's what's in the book. So they don't spend a lot of time developing it. But this series did a lot of time developing it and making the characters feel like they are, a group, a pairing. And the series goes, headlong into the series finale, unfortunately season finale, but it's the series finale, with Jean and the Phoenix Force with the Inner Circle. Emma realizing that she was duped by the Inner Circle and she tries to save the day. And then you have the Stepford Cuckoos that are trying to absorb the Phoenix Force out of Jean. Um, so it was a really, really fascinating ending to the series. Um, with such great promise for a second season. You know, they talked about doing Age of Apocalypse. They talked about doing a lot more with the characters, and it's just a real lost opportunity to have gotten some amazing, amazing work out of this. Um, they would have stuff with Colossus and Magic. They would have brought Exodus into it, and I think Genosha would have been really, really fascinating with Exodus there. Um, but alas, we didn't get it. Um, But you know, with everything with Marvel and Disney and Fox and everyone kind of coming together, all the rights, reverting back, I think there's a potential that we could get a new X-Men series, and I would be super down for that. I would love to have more of that happening in my life. Um, but Wolverine and the X-Men is a great series. Um, there are a couple of filler episodes that you're like, and mostly do with Wolverine. Um, but it was still really fascinating. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. The voice acting was really great. They do a lot of really smart work with that. The fighting was really good. Power displays, awesome. Love it. You gotta have that. Um, and I would definitely watch this again. So let me know in the comments what your favorite episode was from Wolverine and the X-Men, and tell me what your favorite character was. What about the show really sung to you? What about the show was really important and great and fun for you? Sound off below, comment, like, and share, and I will be back with more goodness for you as always. It's all geek to us. See you soon.